All right, so you guys may have seen this kid's guide to Donald Trump or whatever around, sponsored by Mike Huckabee, freekidsguide.com or something. I actually paid for them because they're not free, contrary to popular belief. And I want to see what kind of propaganda they're cramming down kids' throats. I have two books here. I'm just going to look at the last page of this one because most of this book is just boring, hero building propaganda about different presidents, about the ones that they like the most. Bush, they're all Republican presidents. I can't help but notice. Reagan, they talk about here. Oh, John Kennedy was a Democrat, I guess. So Teddy Roosevelt, Lincoln. Anyway, I want to look at the last page here on this one, and then I want to read the whole book here, The Kid's Guide to Saving America, because that one is actually absolutely insane. Just look at the last page on this one here. All right, let's see. President Donald J. Trump. By the way, I have Alpha Force Zero here with me to help me go through this.
Hello.
Donald J. Trump was a successful businessman who apprenticed under a strict father who taught him that the sky was the limit if he worked hard. Well, that's the thing. People work hard their entire lives and they never get anywhere. It doesn't matter how hard you work. This is not a meritocracy in the United States, contrary to popular belief, but whatever. And you know what? Donald Trump, when has he even worked hard? What has Donald Trump done that was working hard in his life?
He worked hard to bankrupt his businesses.
That's true. Seeing what he felt was America slipping away from freedom and prosperity, Trump, God, it's so tiny. I'm sorry. Seeing what he felt was an America slipping away from freedom and prosperity, Trump left his life behind and risked everything, assuring a stumbling and divided nation the best is yet to come. So you think that Donald Trump sacrificed for the country? You don't think he got anything out of being president? What kind of a delusional fantasy land do these people live in, for real? Under his Make America Great Again platform, President Trump cut taxes and regulations. Not sure why that's a good thing. Made America energy independent. No, he didn't. Created record jobs. No, he didn't. Reformed the justice system. No. Modernized the United States military. No, he didn't do any of that. And negotiated the groundbreaking Abraham Accords. That he didn't even do.
He cut regulations, is that what it said?
Yes, and they're listing that as a good thing.
Regulations are basically by definition important. So cutting them, because you regulate things so that they don't get out of control or terrible. So by cutting a regulation, okay, continue.
Every regulation that exists was paid for in blood. Somebody died to get that regulation put in. You want to know why they don't store plutonium next to the break room in nuclear facilities? Because somebody died that way. I mean, that's not actually a regulation, I hope. Everything has been paid for in blood. Cutting regulations gets people killed and makes companies more money because they don't have to put time and effort into making sure that people are safe anymore at the expense of human lives. That's what cutting regulation does. Now, the Abraham Accords here, that was negotiated, at least publicly, as far as anybody knows, by Jared Kushner, not by Donald Trump. And that was basically a treaty brokered by the United States government, by Jared Kushner, between the United Arab Emirates and Israel. And it was one of the first cases of a Middle Eastern country openly trading with Israel in a long time because of what Israel has been doing to Gaza since forever. And it was a big deal because the hope was that more countries would go in to work with Israel. But then, of course, Israel started committing a genocide, or at least ramping up the ethnic cleansing, bare minimum. You can't argue that.
Mm-hmm.
And the Abraham Accords completely fell apart. But Trump claims to have accomplished peace in the Middle East from the Abraham Accords. It's absolute nonsense. He didn't do it, and that wasn't peace in the Middle East.
This is called the Kid's Guide, right?
Yep.
My assumption is this was made for rich children of business owners and other like famous people, other rich people. It was made for children who this wouldn't affect in the future, who could actually follow what they say, because being rich makes hard work and other stuff like that a lot easier.
Interestingly, this is actually intended for working class or even working poor children because fascist regimes, personality cults, and things have always tried to draw in the quote unquote uneducated, as Trump calls them.
Right.
They've always tried to get people in, or I'm sorry, they've always tried to get the support of people who don't know any better and who are willing to believe anything they're told. Hitler claimed to be a man of the people. He claimed, he was the leader of the National Socialist, or the Social Nationalists would be another way to say it. The socialist part of that equation in the 30s at that time and place really just meant social programs. He's trying to help the working poor
Mhm.
with insurance programs, with retirement funds, and things like that. Socialism has a different meaning to us today than it did then. So Hitler is a good example of a cult of personality trying to appeal to the lower working poor as a means to attain power.
Fun fact about being poor, you cannot get out of it unless you are very, very, very lucky. So no matter what, if you are born and raised in poverty and you're still in poverty up until you're an adult, when you enter the working field,
The workforce.
yeah, the workforce. When you enter the workforce, you are going to be poor up until the day that you die because it's impossible to get out unless some incredible strain of luck comes along.
Yeah, I grew up poor and we were impoverished basically, for her entire life until YouTube picked up. And even then, I was just working middle class after that. So it's not, wealth does not run in our family at all. We've spent a lot of time going from house to house because we didn't, we didn't have a house of our own, for example, right? Living with her grandmother or things like that. So
It's a really stressful environment.
it is. Anyway, let's keep reading. Trump's unique vision and inner courage. A Washington outsider, President Trump defied the business as usual attitude of DC and challenged the system to be more hopeful and faithful to the constitutional principles that had made America great. Oh, I'm sorry, I forgot to read this quote. Our spirit is still young, the sun is still rising, God's grace is still shining, and my fellow Americans, the best is yet to come. God bless you. God bless America. Donald J. Trump. Wow, inspiring, huh? Instead of being accepted, his critics in the media in Washington, D.C. attacked him at every turn. Wait, I didn't read this one yet, did I? I don't think so.
No.
Attacked him at every turn, making false claims and constant accusations. What false claims and accusations? Which ones specifically? The claims made about Trump are factual. He is a scumbag. I don't understand why this is so hard to understand. I don't understand why this is so hard to believe. The endless stream of hatred, fear, and smearing lasted his entire presidency and continued for 3.5 years more as President Trump began campaigning for another term.
We have evidence of terrible things that he has done. We have evidence that he is a terrible person. And I don't like it's not like people are making up lies and then everyone around us is going along with it because that doesn't generally work with such a large group of people. I mean, MAGA MAGA's not really that large of a group of people. They're all generally brainwashed.
Saying it doesn't work on a majority typically.
Yeah, it doesn't work on a majority.
It does sometimes, which is like really disturbing. Hitler was a full-blown personality cult, and I guess that's not a good example because Nazis weren't a majority. They were only like 20% of the population, but
It's
it does
crazy.
from time to time. Israel is majority absolutely out of their heads,
Mhm.
drunk on nationalistic insanity right now. So it does happen sometimes, but usually the majority is supposed to even out the insane extremist wings.
It is so incredibly hard to spread lies about a president and have a majority believe it. Like you said, not impossible, but it's so incredibly difficult. And it's even more difficult to bring those lies into a court and have the court agree with it and then have the court convict someone. 34 felonies. 34. And he was proven to have lied, I don't know, like
30,000 times or something?
Yeah, 30,000 times, something along those lines, in his first presidency. You can't It's so difficult to make up lies like that and not have them be fact checked.
Just out of curiosity, I just want to pull up a couple of good examples of Trump being a complete scumbag. Let me give you one. I consider people who quote Hitler unironically because they agree with what Hitler said. I consider them to be scumbags. Would everybody agree with that?
I agree with that.
Okay, check this out. This is Trump quoting Hitler directly, word for word.
No control whatsoever. Nobody has any idea where these people are coming from.
You're talking about immigrants. He's lying. This is a lie. He's lying.
And we know they come from prisons. We know they come from mental institutions and
I thought you said we don't know.
I was about to point that out.
No, it's just not true. It's a lie.
insane asylums.
He's right here. This is Trump demonizing a demographic of people because he knows that it will gain supporters. It will benefit him.
Mental institutions, insane asylums. We know they're terrorists. Nobody has ever seen anything like we're witnessing right now. It is a very sad thing for our country. It's poisoning the blood of our country.
What does that mean exactly? Poisoning the blood of our country. Hitler said that exact thing word for word, by the way. And you know that Hitler's complaint was about immigrants? He viewed Jews as the immigrants. He even used the word immigrant constantly, called them aliens. They're aliens in this land. They don't belong here. It's identical what Trump is doing to a degree that it can't possibly be coincidence, in my opinion. That's just one quote.
I recognized that anytime Trump says something that generally has a foundation, it's because he copied it from somewhere.
It's like Melania Trump plagiarizing Michelle Obama. Yeah. I mean, directly lifting word for word right out of her speech.
In honor of our great veterans on Veterans Day, pledge to you that we will root out the communists, Marxists, fascists, and the radical left thugs that live like vermin.
Literal, exact, direct quote from Hitler.
That live like vermin.
Vermin is the word that Hitler used. Also, what were communists? What were leftists?
Fascist.
Fascists? Yeah, he didn't say fascists. And he also didn't say socialists because those two things had different connotations at the time.
The communists, Marxists,
Marxist.
fascists, and the radical left thugs that live like vermin.
So I don't like people that quote Hitler directly to demonize a demographic of people for absolutely no reason. That's my problem. Anyway, let's keep reading. Finally, the constant and hateful attacks caused something in our nation to snap, and at 6:15 p.m. on July 13th, 2024, a crazed assassin tried to kill President Trump during a campaign rally in Butler, Pennsylvania.
I called Dad when that happened and told him about it.
Yeah, Trump is the one that has been causing these divisions. And this group is trying to, this book is trying to convince people it's the exact opposite. Also, the assassin, the would-be assassin, was a Republican, a registered voting Republican.
People like to say that that's a lie and that we're spreading misinformation. It's not.
No, it's true.
Fact.
It's 100% correct. I mean, they've talked to the dude's classmates and everything. He was a voting Republican. It was part of like the NRA club or whatever it was. Anyway, miraculously, Trump turned his head just as the assassin. Wait, I'm going to guess. Are they going to give us some ridiculous nonsense about how God saved him? Let's see. Turned his head as the assassin pulled the trigger, and the bullet hit his ear instead of killing him. In the panic and confusion, and as Trump's Secret Service guards pulled him down, a bloodied and defiant President Trump suddenly stood up, raised his fist, and called for the shocked crowd to fight, fight, fight for the future of American freedom. The crowd responded with a chant of USA. Okay, wow. They didn't say that he was saved by God. Surprised.
Do you guys remember when after this happened, all Trump supporters started wearing like pads on their ears and stuff?
Yeah, like
Out.
sticky notes.
Yeah, sticky notes, pads. I think some of them had toilet paper. So
Or like
crazy.
when it became like super obvious that Donald Trump is wearing adult diapers, so they all started walking around with adult diapers. Do you remember that?
I don't.
Oh.
What was that?
Not that long ago. It was around the same time.
It's all part of God's ineffable plan, and that's why Trump didn't die that day. Because God cares so much about him, and he's definitely not a terrible person, and he is the embodiment of Jesus himself.
Let me check the twit and see if I can find some videos of that.
Someone said, But the man behind Trump, God saw is disposable. Yeah, that's because Trump is obviously God's chosen one, and everyone else, no one else matters as long as Trump and MAGA specifically are safe. But only the real MAGA, the people who are really God's chosen people.
Here
They're
you
all
go.
they're all
Found it.
crazy.
They are. They're absolutely insane. I think I found what I was looking for. Let's see. Yep. Yep. This is Trump nutcases wearing diapers to support him or whatever. Let me just pull it up.
It's so stupid.
It's embarrassing, like deeply, painfully embarrassing.
A
This
lot of
is huh?
a lot of stuff MAGA does is deeply painfully embarrassing.
This is Snopes. Claim Donald Trump supporters wore diapers at rallies in spring 2024, holding signs that said real men wear diapers. Rating? True. In April and May 2024, reports circulated that supporters of 2024 Republican presidential candidate and former U.S. President Donald Trump were gathering at rallies wearing diapers. American history in court records. Don von Schitzenpants. GOP cult flags, diapers, and tees. Yeah. They're wearing literal diapers. They say real men wear diapers.
Are you guys excited to hear from your kids and grandkids in the future about their history textbooks and it mentions how people were wearing diapers?
All right. Listen to this. I don't know what it says.
In some measure, going back and forth with the former president.
Okay, I apologize for this update ahead of time.
Yeah, boy.
But Todd Blanche, the Trump attorney, is specifically reading a post that Michael Cohen made on Twitter on April 22nd, in which he refers to Donald Trump as Von Schitzenpants. That is just a factual record that I am bringing before you. This is in the court transcript. Von Schitzenpants. Blanche also said there are repeated attacks on Trump and his candidacy on Cohen's podcast and TikTok account.
Anyway, the point is that fascists really like to be cool. They're obsessed with being cool, and pointing out how absolutely embarrassing and stupid they are is really important. It's an important part of being anti-fascist. And just want like to kind of close up this book here. At the very end, you'll notice they're drawing parallels between Trump and the people that they want kids to believe are the best presidents of all time. Reagan, George H.W. Bush,
Is that
John F.
Lincoln?
Well, I'm going through.
Sorry.
Hang on. Reagan, George H.W. Bush, John F. Kennedy, Teddy Roosevelt, Lincoln, and George Washington. They want Trump to be compared with those people, I guess. Trump went from a famous New York businessman to a defiant political outsider and people first populist. I mean, he's definitely a populist, but he does not put the people first. He puts himself first, obviously. Along the way, his courage in the face of constant criticism and physical attack revealed the character and resolve of a true leader. Right. Yeah. Tell me what you think about it in the comments. Absolutely nuts.
Comparing Trump to Lincoln is wild to me, by the way.
Yeah, and out of curiosity, let's see. Lincoln had a deep faith in God and humanity. I find it fascinating. That's the thing that they want to draw attention to, which gave him endless strength and courage. During one of the bleakest periods in history, he found the resolve to guide his nation through the terrible Civil War and back together again. No, he didn't do Reconstruction. That was Ulysses S. Grant, wasn't it? His vice president and the next guy? Anyway, whatever. Tell me your thoughts.